Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Tuesday, April 28th, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, Iran's foreign minister has blamed Washington for the slow progress in dealing with the tensions in the Middle East. The suspect in the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is facing 3 charges, including attempted assassination of the U.S. president. And China's immigration authorities are bracing for a surge in tourism during the May Day holiday coming up this weekend. In business, China's created millions of urban jobs through the first quarter. In sports, a Chinese speed climber sets a new world record at the Asian Beach Games. In culture and entertainment, China's box office pre-sales are heating up ahead of the long weekend. Now checking the day's top stories. Iran's foreign minister has blamed what he calls the United States' destructive habits for the slow progress in diplomacy. While meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Abbas Araghchi cited the U.S. insistence on unreasonable demands and frequently changing positions. Putin voiced Russia's readiness to provide assistance to completely stop the war and establish peace in the region. Dasha Chernyshova has more.
The Iranian foreign minister was asked what he thinks of Donald Trump, U.S. president, saying that he has won. And Araghchi has replied, then why is the U.S. asking for more negotiations? And stressed that the Iranian people are fighting against a very potent adversary here. And the U.S. has not achieved any of their major stated goals. And therefore, the U.S. is interested in negotiations. So we understand that Moscow is likely to be provided its sort of diplomatic backing to Tehran. Russia has been reassuring that Iran has the right to make sure its interests are well taken into account, and most importantly, Iran has the right for peaceful nuclear program. So these negotiations, according to the Kremlin, should not be cannot be overestimated, and they are very important in this round of diplomacy that we have seen recently. But again, Russia is peddling for the negotiated end to the conflict in the Middle East, saying that these tensions have to end.
That was Dasha Chernyshova in Moscow. A U.S. official says President Donald Trump's unhappy with the Iranian proposal on resolving the 2-month war. Iran's conditions would set aside discussion of the nuclear program until the war ends, and disputes over shipping have been resolved. That's unlikely to satisfy Washington, which said nuclear issues must be dealt with from the outset. A White House spokesperson said the U.S. is being clear about its red lines. Hopes of reviving peace efforts have receded since the U.S. president scrapped a visit by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner to Islamabad, where the Iranian foreign minister shuttled before arriving in Russia. China's permanent representative to the UN says issues regarding the Strait of Hormuz can only be resolved by adhering to dialogue and promoting de-escalation. Fu Song told a Security Council meeting on maritime safety that the abusive use of military means cannot fundamentally resolve risks and will only aggravate tensions.
The root cause of the obstruction to navigation in the Strait of Hormuz is the illegal military actions by the United States and Israel against Iran. The United States has also stepped up its military deployment and carried out targeted blockade operations despite a temporary ceasefire arrangement. This is a very dangerous and irresponsible action.
Iran's envoy to the United Nations says Tehran's not responsible for the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. The ambassador also said Iran is not bound by the UN law of the sea. He said Tehran aims to strike an appropriate balance between security interests of the coastal state and the continuous safe conduct of navigation in the strait amid a hostile, volatile environment. As Washington ramps up military pressure in the Middle East, including the rare deployment of 3 U.S. aircraft carrier strike groups. President Donald Trump continues to insist the U.S. holds all the cards. We spoke with former Israeli government advisor Daniel Levy. He says the U.S. narrative reflects political messaging more than strategic reality.
If Washington had all the cards, we wouldn't be weeks, approaching now months, into a conflict initiated by Washington, where Washington can still not impose its will. Not only is that the case, but Washington also now faces a problem of its own making. So a central organizing principle of these negotiations is now what happens to Hormuz. Well, Hormuz was fine until you started your war. So President Trump likes to claim he has all the cards. So it's not the case that when he claims he has all the cards, that is actually the situation. You have a reality where people look at this and they say, that's not what's going on, but the president can maintain the fiction, apparently, in his own head with his own political echo chamber.
Levy, who's now the president of the U.S. Middle East Project, said the U.S. warships and equipment in the region are easy targets. Iran's largest airline, Mahan Air, has resumed select passenger routes to China. That includes flights between Tehran and Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Beijing. Li Shuang spoke with passengers arriving at Beijing Capital International Airport.
After 7 hours, passengers touched down in Beijing on a commercial flight from Tehran, some for business or study, others for family reunions. Most of them prefer privacy, but we did manage to speak to a couple.
But everything was good in the flight, very easy. And what it was, the good option was it was very not crowded at all. 18 people in a big airplane, and we could sleep with 4, for example, seats.
Iranian carrier Mahan Air announced last week that it would resume passenger flights between Iran and China as the nation gradually reopens its airspace. This underscores the recovery of Middle Eastern civil aviation following the outbreak of the U.S.-Iran conflict in late February.
I always thought that is there, for example, if we are going up, maybe some fighter comes or something. I was very stressful all the trip till we exit the border.
Flight tracking service shows that airspace over the Middle East remains restricted, with flights completely or partially suspended.
We have a stress to come back. I don't know, maybe 1 week later, again fight, and we should stay here or maybe come by other countries and in the ground go to my country.
The latest phase of Mahan Air's resumed operations is set to run through late May. Beyond that, whether flights continue will largely depend on how the geopolitical situation evolves in the weeks ahead.
That was Li Shuang on air travel between Iran and China. We spoke to Director Wang Jin at the Center for Strategic Studies, Northwest University of China, about the signals from the inclusion of China-bound routes after Iran begins to resume international flights. He said it highlights the efforts to revive global aviation links.
I think it means the certainties are coming back to this region, and the ceasefire actually continues, because when we are talking about the resumption of the airplanes, we're talking about the confidence for peace is coming back. We're talking about the stability of the regional situations coming back. China is the one part of the decision. China cannot be alone when all the airplanes suspended, and China cannot be left when the resumption of all the airplanes. And China is hoping to share with the benefits of the ceasefire, and also it's good news for not only China but also good news for everybody.
That was Professor Wang Jin on what it means to operate flights between Iran and China after a temporary halt. Coming up, the shooting suspect at the White House Correspondents' Dinner faces 3 charges.
You've been listening to programs from CGTN Radio.
CGTN Radio.
We invite you to visit us online for more audio, pictures, and in-depth reports. At radio.cgtn.com, you can access a wide range of programs and find your favorite news, talk, features, entertainment shows, and podcasts. Hear the difference with CGTN Radio.
9 minutes past the hour. The suspect in the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Association dinner is facing 3 criminal charges, including attempting to assassinate the U.S. president. Cole Thomas Allen has made his first court appearance, and Jim Spellman has more from Washington.
31-year-old Cole Allen of Torrance, California, formally charged here in federal court with attempting to assassinate the President of the United States, a charge that carries a potential life sentence. Allen also charged with 2 federal gun crimes. He did not enter a plea here on Monday. He will be back in court Thursday, and the Justice Department says he could face additional charges.
There will be additional charges as this investigation continues to unfold. But make no mistake, this was an attempted assassination of the President of the United States, with the defendant making clear what his intent was. And that intent was to bring down as many of the high-ranking cabinet officials as he could. This is the kind of situation that we cannot tolerate.
Prosecutors allege that Allen traveled by train first to Chicago, then to Washington, D.C., and that he was staying at the Washington Hilton Hotel where the White House Correspondents' Dinner was being held. They say that he was armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives, and they tried to run through a security checkpoint, but was subdued a short distance past the metal detectors. He never made it down to the level where the dinner was being held. The only person injured was a Secret Service agent who was shot in the bulletproof vest. That agent is said to be doing okay. Not clear exactly the circumstances around that. Investigators are studying writings by this alleged attacker that expressed anger at President Trump and the administration. And the White House says that the heated rhetoric around the president is at least partly to blame for this incident.
Nobody in recent years has faced more bullets and more violence than President Trump. This political violence stems from a systemic demonization of him and his supporters by commentators, yes, by elected members of the Democrat Party, and even some in the media. This hateful and constant and violent rhetoric directed at President Trump day after day after day for 11 years has helped to legitimize this violence and bring us to this dark moment.
Though the alleged shooter didn't make it into the ballroom and nobody that was attending the dinner was injured, the White House Chief of Staff Susie Wallace is going to convene a meeting at the White House this week to review protocol around President Trump's security. The White House also using this as an opportunity to push for President Trump to be able to finish the controversial ballroom he wants to build on the White House grounds. And the White House also calling on Congress to end the partial government shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security, the Secret Service, part of DHS.
That was Jim Spellman reporting. Britain's royal couples in the United States, despite the White House press dinner shooting and differences between the governments over the Iran war. King Charles and Queen Camilla had afternoon tea with U.S. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania. They also attended a garden party at the British Embassy. The state visit comes at a tense time for transatlantic ties. Owen Fairclough has more.
A White House red carpet welcome for Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla on the monarch's first state visit to the US. But if US President Trump is glad to host Charles, this trip doesn't have universal support back home. Protesters gathered outside London's Buckingham Palace.
The British people do not want this state visit to go ahead. We should not be sending the king to wine and dine at a state banquet with Donald Trump when he is driving a cost of living crisis as a result of his war in Iran. And crucially, the UK government are allowing the US military to use our air bases to load up with bombs, take off and conduct strikes. That makes us complicit. And so sending the king right now sends a signal that we're actually okay with whatever Donald Trump is doing.
The two countries and allies have what's called a long-standing special relationship, but it's fraying. Trump has condemned British Prime Minister Keir Starmer for refusing to join the US-Israel conflict with Iran in combat. But Trump feels differently about the monarchy, which has hosted him for 2 state visits across his 2 terms, unprecedented for a US president. Charles is visiting the US in the wake of another assassination attempt on Trump, and he's arguably under pressure to confront Trump's upending of the Western order that these 2 countries helped to establish when he addresses Congress on Tuesday.
That was Owen Fairclough on the British monarch's state visit to the United States. Mali's prime minister says Saturday's coordinated terrorist attacks across several cities were part of an attempt to seize power, dismantle state institutions, and end the country's transition process. Abdoulaye Maiga said that Mali is in mourning after the attacks that killed civilians, Defense Minister Sadio Kamara, and other military personnel. He said the attackers sought to spread fear and weaken national unity, but their objectives have failed.
The enemy's objective was to seize power by dismantling the institutions of the Republic. I urge the public not to give in to panic and to continue to offer frank cooperation to the defense and security forces.
The Prime Minister added that Mali's military has delivered a forceful response, neutralizing hundreds of terrorists nationwide. He acknowledged that the asymmetric nature of the threat requires continuous adaptation of security measures. Mali's transitional governments declared a 2-day national mourning period starting Monday in honor of the slain defense minister. China says all peace-loving countries must remain highly vigilant and firmly resist Japan's reckless moves toward militarism. The Foreign Ministry said Japan's failed to do serious soul-searching of its past wars of aggression. A ministry spokesperson said Japan's recent provocative actions expose the hypocrisy of its self-proclaimed status as a peaceful nation. He was answering a query related to Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's claim to be prepared for what she called a long-term conflict. The Japanese government convened its first expert panel meeting to advance the revision of 3 key security-related documents, including the National Security Strategy. A group of Japanese citizens gathered outside the Prime Minister's official residence to protest those plans.
This will lead to continuous war and the spread of conflict, so I believe it is absolutely unacceptable. If Japan develops weapons as an industry, it will become like the United States. Once started, it cannot be stopped. An unstoppable arms industry will seek out wars to sustain itself. Therefore, profiting from weapon sales is absolutely wrong.
I strongly oppose revising the Constitution. The Constitution has guaranteed our peaceful lives so far. Changing it arbitrarily under excuses like "the times have changed" will gradually lead this anti-war nation toward war. That is completely unacceptable. That is why I believe we must firmly oppose it.
Japan aims to complete the revision by December. A report shows global military spending hit nearly $2.9 trillion in 2025, the 11th straight annual increase. And that's a rise of nearly 3% from 2024. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute released the report on Monday. It showed the U.S. remained the top spender despite a 7.5% drop to around $950 billion, mainly due to no new Ukraine aid approved last year. Europe drove most of the global increase, with spending up 14% to over $860 billion. European NATO members saw their fastest spending growth since 1953, as the region boosts self-reliance and faces U.S. pressure for more burden sharing. Japan's military spending rose nearly 10% to $62 billion, its highest share of GDP since 1958. Global military spending now equals 2.5% of world GDP, the highest level since 2009. Coming up, Chinese authorities expect surging tourism numbers over the May Day holiday.
Want to learn about world affairs in a more laid-back and accessible manner? Join insiders, experts, and analysts in the casual setting of the Chat Lounge to hear their personal experiences and opinions on major events and hot issues. Subscribe to Chat Lounge for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
19 minutes past the hour. China's immigration authorities are expecting daily cross-border travel to average more than 2.2 million during the May Day holiday, the peak's estimated at more than 2.4 million. Major international airports expect to see notable increases in passenger traffic. Shanghai Pudong International Airport projects average daily cross-border flows at over 100,000. Land ports bordering Hong Kong and Macau are also expecting to see daily passenger volumes of up to nearly 400,000. Many areas across Beijing are teeming with migratory birds in spring. A British bird-watching expert is turning weekend strolls into urban safaris for nature lovers of all ages. Guotlin Jie has the story.
Two majestic black swans glide across tranquil waters. A pair of emerald-headed ducks dart through reeds. A siege of gray herons soars overhead. Through binoculars, a hidden avian world comes alive. Once the Qing dynasty's imperial hunting grounds, southern Beijing's Nanhaizi has transformed into a vital sanctuary for migratory birds crossing continents.
Towards the left-hand end of the island, there are many. Oh, lots of vinous-throated parrotbills. You see the flock of birds going onto the island?
Leading a diverse group of enthusiasts through this urban oasis is British bird-watching expert Paul Holt, on a mission to decode the secrets of Beijing's skies. Though bird-watching is booming across China, many still underestimate Beijing's avian diversity. Paul begs to differ.
Over the years, I've had many Chinese people come up to me and they say, "Oh, why do you birdwatch in China? There are no birds in China." And that is just so wrong. Beijing, huge city, 25 million people perhaps, but so many birds, big migration, huge variety of species, and it's fabulous. I love the birdwatching in China, and I really enjoy sharing my enthusiasm for birdwatching in China with Chinese people.
For Paul, the goal goes beyond spotting species. It's about nurturing tomorrow's conversationalists.
There are already quite a lot of bird photographers in Beijing and older people like myself that are bird watching. But the most important thing is to encourage young children and to make them proud of what they have. You only need a pair of binoculars and you can see birds, and there are birds everywhere.
Nowadays, children face a lot of academic pressure and intense competition. We encourage parents to take their kids outdoors and spend more time in nature. Bird watching from an early age is a wonderful way to help them appreciate the natural world.
This spring, adventure isn't just outside Beijing, it's overhead. All it takes is looking up.
Now is Guo Linjie on getting close to nature in Beijing. Kenya has hosted a high-level symposium to maximize the benefits of China's new zero-tariff policy for 53 African countries, which is set to take effect on Friday. Chinese ambassador to Kenya, Guo Haiyan, called the policy a major milestone in bilateral trade cooperation, saying it'll reduce institutional costs and boost the competitiveness of Kenyan products in the Chinese market. She added that the move supports Africa's industrialization and agricultural modernization. Kenyan officials described the zero-tariff agreement as a landmark framework that strengthens trade and investment for mutual benefit and a blueprint for other African countries. The Kenya Tea Development Agency said the policy will increase tea exports to China in volume and value. Themed Zero Tariffs, Infinite Opportunities, the symposium brought together government and business leaders to discuss expanding Kenyan exports, including agricultural products and minerals. China's zero-tariff policy will make it easier for specialty products from Africa to enter the market. In Zanzibar, clove farmers say it could be a game-changer for their future. Caroline B. reports.
Zanzibar's connection with spices dates back to the early 19th century, with cloves among the most popular. At its peak, the region was home to over 4 million clove trees, with annual production reaching 24,000 tons. Its maritime climate provides an ideal environment for growing cloves, a versatile spice that adds flavor and fragrance to food and consumer products. Traditionally, it also provides health benefits and has been used for centuries to aid digestion and treat various ailments.
Zanzibar is among the countries which has real tropical type of climate, which is very good for growing spices worldwide. And this temperature ranges around 25 to 26 degrees Celsius. So it's very good for growing this. And not only that, but we have biannual type of rainfall. All Zanzibar spice farmers grow organically.
Despite having a centuries-old history of spice cultivation, Zanzibar has long faced market challenges.
The spice business in bulk is very fluctuated, because our main customer is from Europe, in Germany, and also we have other customer in America. But them, the way that they order when they need. You understand? They don't have like a specific order in a year. Like I can say like this year maybe they can order 5 times. Next year they can order only 100 grams. So we don't have like a fixed orders.
The unstable demand from traditional markets has negatively affected farmers' income. But beginning May 1st, farmers will have access to a new market in China, a market that aims to boost trade, support industrialization, and eliminate import duties on agricultural products from 53 African countries. For farmers in Zanzibar, tariff-free treatment for their agricultural goods entering the Chinese market means stronger demand and more stable income. Experts say the competitiveness encourages investment and modernization of local agricultural sectors.
And the zero tariff policy for Africa is much more than just a trade preference. As China launched its 5-year plan, this initiative stands as a landmark step for high-level opening up. It reflects the shared and resonance between China's modernization and Africa's modernization, and it represents a meaningful move in building a new type of international relation.
The zero tariff policy addresses one of the biggest obstacles for African producers, the cost of entering international markets. Experts say lower tariffs means lower costs for consumers and stronger competitiveness for exporters, owing to increased demand for high-quality agricultural products in China. China is already Africa's largest trading partner, and with the policy set to come into effect, bilateral trade could hit record levels in the coming years.
That was Caroline B. on the win-win outcomes from China-Africa trade. A cyclone that tore across several Russian regions with powerful winds and wet snow has killed at least 3 people, leaving more than 76,000 others without power. In the Samara region, a girl and a man died after being struck by falling trees. Moscow and other regions have seen widespread disruptions, including damaged buildings, power lines, and vehicles. Authorities have closed most parks in the capital, suspended scooter and car sharing services, and urged residents to avoid unnecessary travel. Emergency crews are working to restore electricity, with nearly 70% of affected consumers reconnected in some areas. Forecasters say the snowstorm is expected to continue into Tuesday. Public reactions are mixed as the British Parliament's passed a landmark bill that'll ban future generations from ever buying cigarettes. Under the Tobacco and Vapes Bill, children born after December 31st, 2008 will be prohibited from purchasing tobacco products for life. The legislation allows the government to regulate vaping products, including flavors and packaging. It requires royal approval before taking effect. 18-year-old Bernadine Williams Estefan said the ban is good in some ways, but lacks a voting process.
It's my body. If I want to smoke, I can smoke. If I want to drink, I can drink. I know the damages towards it because even on the packets where they sell it, they have very vivid and very explicit images on it. But that's still my choice whether to get it or not. Like, it's my life. So I think that the ban that they're doing is good in a way, but the way that they're trying to do it is not right. Like, there should be some sort of voting or some sort of, I don't know, other output on the way to go about it. But this isn't the way.
Well, meantime, 60-year-old Roger Brooker said he'd welcome the ban to protect children.
I agree with it, yes, because there's too many young children now with vapes and smoking as well. It's just not good for them. It's not. I mean, they say vaping's better, but I don't believe it is. I think it's just as bad as smoking. And we know people who vape and they said, it is just as bad.
Smoking still kills around 80,000 people a year in the UK and remains the leading preventable cause of death. With the ban, anti-smoking campaigners say Britain can realistically aim to become a smoke-free country. The UK already bans tobacco sales to under 18s, but the new law will steadily raise the legal age each year. We're at 29 past the hour. Beijing's 9 degrees overnight, sunshine, and 24 for Wednesday. Shanghai's getting a light rainfall tonight and tomorrow, a low of 11, a high of 14. Chongqing will see moderate rain and 16 this evening, then it's overcast skies and 22. Nanchang, heavy rainfall in the forecast for this evening, overcast and 17 tomorrow. Lhasa will see showers and a low of +3, then a light rain and 15 degrees. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see some light rainfall through the overnight hours and into tomorrow. The low is 20, the high of 33 for Wednesday. Vientiane will see some rainfall and 24 overnight, then moderate rainfall and 36 degrees Celsius. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, Iran's foreign minister has blamed Washington for the slow progress in dealing with the tensions in the Middle East. The suspect in the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is now facing 3 charges, including attempted assassination of the U.S. president. And China's immigration authorities are bracing for a surge in tourism during the May Day holiday that's coming up this weekend. Shane Bigham with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
From the refreshing cup of tea that starts your morning to the paper that you write on, the roots of many familiar parts of modern life can be traced back to ancient ideas. Join us on Made in Ancient China and discover how ideas born millennia ago became some of the world's greatest treasures. Made in Ancient China brings you stories of human ambition, inspiration, and connection. Now available on all major podcast platforms.
Shh, listen up. Can you hear the heartbeat of our world? It's vibrant and pulsating with the essence of life itself. From the stem of trees to the gurgle of rivers. From the silent strength of mountains to the icy whispers of glaciers. Even the solid ground beneath our feet. Right there, in the midst of all, beats the heart of humanity. What if those other heartbeats were to stop? Would ours keep on ticking?
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
It's Shane Bigham with you on this Tuesday. Still to come. In business, China's created millions of urban jobs through the first quarter. In sports, a Chinese speed climber set a new world record at the Asian Beach Games. In culture and entertainment, China's box office pre-sales are heating up ahead of the long weekend. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account @CGTNradio. Now checking the day's headlines. The Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China's Central Committee has held a meeting to analyze and study the current economic situation and economic work. General Secretary Xi Jinping presided over that meeting. The gathering noted that the Chinese economy is off to a robust start this year, with key indicators beating expectations, underscoring its resilience and dynamism. It's acknowledged challenges, calling for stronger confidence and more effective policy support. The meeting outlined a continued focus on stability, while pushing forward reforms, expanding domestic demand, and strengthening innovation and industrial supply chains. It also pledged more proactive fiscal measures, a moderately loose monetary policy, and steps to boost consumption and infrastructure investment. Efforts will target risk prevention in sectors such as real estate and local government debt, while prioritizing employment and public services. China and Indonesia have held a promotional event in Jakarta for the English version of the 5th volume of Xi Jinping, The Governance of China. Guests who attended the event exchanged ideas on opportunities from China's 15th five-year plan, its modernization, and poverty alleviation. They noted that stronger China-Indonesia cooperation could serve both countries' interests and support broader Global South engagement and global governance. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for the immediate reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Speaking at a UN Security Council debate on maritime safety, he stressed that navigational rights and freedoms in the vital waterway must be fully respected without delay. He called for swift action to restore normal shipping through the strait and ease pressure on the global economy. The suspect in Saturday's shooting at the White House press dinner faces a charge of attempting to assassinate U.S. President Donald Trump. 31-year-old Cole Thomas Allen made his first court appearance on Monday. He faces 3 criminal counts. Authorities say Allen traveled by train from California to Washington, D.C. and checked into the Washington Hilton with weapons before the attack. He allegedly ran through a security checkpoint holding a long gun and exchanged gunfire with law enforcement, injuring a Secret Service officer. Trump, the First Lady, the Vice President, and other cabinet members were evacuated from the dinner. In an email to relatives before the shooting, Allen reportedly called Trump administration officials targets, prioritized from highest ranking to lowest. The investigation's ongoing. The president of the NPT Review Conference says the danger of nuclear war is now felt more than ever. Speaking in New York as the Review Conference of the parties to the Treaty of the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons began, Ambassador Do Hung Viet of Vietnam called this the most challenging time for the NPT regime itself.
This review conference convenes at a particularly challenging time. And in many of my conversations with colleagues and experts, it is quite clear that we are in fact in the most difficult time, the most challenging time for the NPT regime itself.
We warn that nuclear rhetoric, arms races, and threats to use nuclear weapons are all looming.
The danger of a nuclear war is seen and is felt, I think, much more concretely these days. Nuclear rhetoric, an arms race, nuclear arms race is really looming. The threat to use nuclear weapons have been floating out there. The modernization and expansion of nuclear arsenals, the violation of international law, the level of mistrust amongst major powers and regional countries. The stakes are very, very high.
On Iran's election as a conference vice president, the ambassador noted that while some concerns emerged recently, the nomination was made months ago and reflects the rights of state parties. He added that there are continuous calls for Israel, India, and Pakistan to join the treaty as non-nuclear states. Most parts of India are reeling under extreme heatwave conditions. According to the India Meteorological Department, Jaisalmer and Barmar in Rajasthan were the hottest on Monday at over 46 degrees Celsius. Jargusta in Odisha recorded over 44 degrees Celsius, about 4 degrees above normal. Delhi recorded over 42 degrees Celsius on Saturday. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in business, China's created millions of urban jobs through the first quarter.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
At 37 past the hour. In business, stock markets on the Chinese mainland closed lower on Tuesday. The Shanghai Composite was down almost 0.2%. The Shenzhen Component lost 1.1%. Navigation equipment and medical services shares were among the top gainers. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index dropped almost 0.9%. Japan's Nikkei declined over 1%. China's Labor Authority says the country's job market remains generally stable in the first quarter. The country created nearly 3 million new urban jobs, while the average surveyed urban unemployment rate stood at 5.3%. The government allocated funds to support employment stability, including 3.1 billion yuan in unemployment insurance rebates for employers. That's around $453.5 million US dollars. The allocated funds also included 500 million yuan in one-time job expansion subsidies and 800 million yuan in vocational skills training subsidies. China's finance ministry has welcomed the decision by global rating agency Moody's, affirming the country's sovereign credit rating at A1 and upgrading the outlook to stable. The ministry says the move recognizes the resilience of China's economic and fiscal strength despite external shocks. China's GDP grew 5% in the first quarter, beating expectations and marking a solid start. During the 15th five-year plan, China's pledged to deepen reforms, boost fiscal stability, and nurture new quality productive forces to anchor long-term stability. One of the world's biggest auto shows is now underway in Beijing. Nearly 1,000 automakers from 21 countries and regions are participating. The event expects to attract close to 1 million visitors and a new record for global auto shows. Car enthusiasts have flown in from around the world just to check out the latest Chinese models. They're from Australia, New Zealand, the UAE, and beyond. Most of them already own cars from China, and now they're here to eye the next big purchase. Chen Mengfei spent a day with the group to find out what's behind this enthusiasm.
China's biggest annual auto show is underway in Beijing this week, and I'm meeting a special group of spectators who've traveled from all over the world just to be here for this event.
From Australia.
From Abu Dhabi.
I'm from Ireland originally. I'm living in the Middle East. This is the future as far as I'm concerned.
The group of more than a dozen shares a few things in common. They love cars, and they follow the same vlogger who organized this trip.
I'm most excited, I think, to show them the sheer diversity of what you can find here in China. They see a small slice of it on my channel, but it's impossible to cover all of the new cars.
I know everything about them, but it's better to see it in front of yourself.
Most of them already bought Chinese cars in recent years. Mansour bought a Rox 01 in Abu Dhabi. Jonathan drives a Hongqi HS3 in Saudi Arabia. And Bernie owns 2 MG-IM in Australia.
Yeah, they're my cars.
Ooh!
AM5, AM6.
You have 2?
Yeah.
Bernie here has bought 47 cars in his life. Yes, you heard that right, 47. His purchase history reads like a mini timeline of the auto industry itself. It started with a Ford Fairmont in the 1990s. And finally, in 2024, he switched to Team China with the purchase of a BYD.
I was watching Wheels Boy, and he was doing a review on the new BYD Seal Performance, and I said to my wife, that's my next car. It was that cool. I was like, that's really cool. Like, they've really stepped up.
When I ask people why Chinese cars, it always comes down to simple math. It's got the best features at the lowest price.
It was just like, this makes sense. It feels safe, it looks good, it was a great price, and honestly, everybody who's seen it has asked about where they can get one, and I genuinely mean that.
Andrew from New Zealand currently drives a Ford, but this Leap Motor EV is checking a lot of boxes to be his next car. He says having more people drive EVs back home would help New Zealand cut emissions and reduce reliance on petrol.
But I actually work for the government.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I work in an environmental area with the government, in a health area actually. Yeah. So that's what I do. So a lot of the things that we do are connected towards cleaner, greener, happier, healthier, sustainable environment. Yeah.
Most participants on this tour come from countries that don't have major auto industries, so their governments have welcomed Chinese brands into their markets. But a lot of Ethan's audience is in the US, where Chinese EVs are effectively shut out. He gets a lot of comments of Americans complaining why can't they buy these cars. But some people also accuse him of exaggerating. For the skeptics, here's his message.
If you don't believe me and you think I'm making this up, come here. I challenge you to come here, try the cars for yourself.
Ironically, for Chinese automakers expanding overseas, the problem seems not to be that their cars aren't good enough, but the opposite.
That's Chen Wengfei at the Beijing Auto Show. A German automaker Audi's made a strong impression at the ongoing Auto China 2026 in Beijing, with its diverse range of models and technologies tailored for the Chinese market. Shui spoke with CEO Gernot Dollner to learn about the company's strategy in China.
So in the Chinese market, what are the medium or long-term plans for Audi in the coming 3 or 5 years?
I mean, here in Beijing, we show our two brand, two partner, and two drivetrain strategy with the four-letter brand bringing the E7X as the second model of that brand here to the auto show, and for the four-ring brand, we have the A6L and the A6L e-tron that show how we have a very successful combustion engine car in its 9th generation and the sister car as being fully electric. Definitely our strong partners, FAW and SAIC, are the cornerstone of our business in China. Whatever we do here in China with our In China for China strategy, we do it together with these two strong partners. And in addition to that, we then bring in the leading tech companies from the Chinese ecosystem to deliver on what the market really requires. For intelligent driving, we partner, as you said, with Chinese tech partners, and you have to be innovative, you have to be safe, you have to be fast in implementing these technologies. And of course, a fourth one, the most important one, you have to implement it with a strong customer focus.
So now we can say that China is the largest market for the NEVs and like the intelligent driving. So how do you see like this big market and also the great innovative vitality from Chinese market to the globe?
China is at the forefront of innovation and technology, and it is driving the speed of the industry. We will see some technologies from China to come to the world, and we will have to find market-specific, regional-specific solutions for the world as Audi, and the highest speed of innovation definitely is in China.
That was Audi CEO Gernot Dollner talking about the Chinese market and his company's strategy in China. China's added 38 undergraduate majors at its higher education institutions, including some cutting-edge ones with a strong futuristic appeal. Embodied intelligence, brain-computer science and technology, and biomanufacturing are among them. The embodied intelligence major teaches students how to create intelligent robots that can perceive the world, think independently, and perform tasks in real-world environments. The brain-computer science and technology major integrates brain science, artificial intelligence, and information engineering to study interactions between the brain and machines. This year, Tianjin University and Harbin Institute of Technology are the first to enroll students in this major. Meanwhile, other majors such as traffic energy integration engineering and agricultural robotics have also been added to serve the optimization and upgrading of traditional industries. China has reported a record trade surplus of $83 billion with the European Union in the first quarter. Analysts say a major factor behind this is Europe's surging demand for Chinese electric vehicles due to rising oil prices caused by the Middle East conflict. Meanwhile, Chinese Consul General Yu Yong in Germany says China's trade surplus with Europe is a natural outcome as the country moves up the industrial chain and Europe faces structural constraints. He says a large quantity of European companies are producing in China, with nearly 40% of their products exported back to the European market. This creates a situation where China takes a surplus and Europe takes the profit. The diplomat also highlighted China's consistent effort to expand imports. He said the EU high-tech export controls restrict the bloc's export potential to China. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, a Chinese speed climber set a new world record at the Asian Beach Games.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
47 past and turning to sports now. Here's Yanguang.
Thank you, Shane. We begin with the Asian Beach Games in Sanya. Chinese speed climber Zhao Yicheng set a new world record of 4.58 seconds in the men's speed preliminaries, breaking the previous record of 4.64 seconds held by American Samuel Watson at the 2025 Bali World Cup. Meanwhile, China claimed its third gold medal in open water swimming at the Asian Beach Games, winning the mixed 4x1.5-kilometer relay. The Chinese quartet of Li Xinxuan, Chen Yijing, Zhao Ziyang, and Liu Peixin delivered a dominant performance, with Vietnam taking silver. Li Xinxuan, who claimed the gold in the women's 5 kilometers just 2 days earlier, was the only female starter among all 7 teams. China wrapped up the open water swimming event with 3 golds and 1 silver. Now turning to snooker, Chinese player Wu Yizhe has made a major breakthrough at the World Championships in Sheffield, defeating 4-time world champion Mark Selby 13-11. This victory marks Wu's first over Selby and his first time reaching the quarterfinals of snooker's biggest tournament.
I'm really happy to make it into the last 8 at the Crucible. It's the first time I've won a best of 25 match here, and I also beat Mark Selby for the first time. I've made many breakthroughs for myself, and that's what makes me happiest. The match was tough and exhausting, especially against a player like Mark. I spent a lot of time in safety exchanges in almost every frame. What made me happy was that I could go back and forth with him. It's the first time I felt I performed so well defensively.
Wu, who led 9-7 after the first 2 sessions, showed strong defensive play. Selby had a chance to close the gap with a solid defensive move in 21st frame, but made a mistake, giving Wu the opportunity to extend his lead. Wu will now face Iran's Hussein Vafai, who staged a thrilling 13-12 win over Judd Trump. In another exciting match, John Higgins ended Ronnie O'Sullivan's bid for a record 8th world title with a 13-12 comeback. O'Sullivan had a 2-frame lead but lost momentum as Higgins, with 3 centuries, held his nerve in the decider for one of the most memorable wins of his career. Higgins will meet Neil Robertson in the quarterfinals. In the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder completed a dominant 4-game first-round sweep with a 131-122 victory over the Phoenix Suns. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander led the way with 31 points and 8 assists as the top-seeded Thunder advanced for the third straight season.
It is a really good feeling. Just for confidence-wise as a group, it's good to get the playoff run started off that way. It's just important to get off to a good foot. You never know what can happen, and usually the later you go, the better the team, so the series don't get like that.
The Thunder will face either the Los Angeles Lakers or Houston Rockets in the second round. In the Eastern Conference, the Orlando Magic defeated the Detroit Pistons 94-88, taking a 3-1 series lead. The 8th-seeded Magic forced 20 turnovers against the top-seeded Pistons and improved to 6-1 in their last 7 home playoff games. The NBA has named the Dallas Mavericks forward Cooper Flagg Rookie of the Year. Flagg led all qualifying rookies with 21 points per game while ranking second in assists and third in rebounds per game. With a season-high 51 points in the loss to the Orlando Magic earlier this month, 19-year-old Flagg also became the youngest player in NBA history to record a 50-point performance. In badminton, China's men's team triumphed 4-1 over Canada in the second round of the Group A at the Thomas Cup, despite the late withdrawal of top seed Shi Yuqi due to illness. Shi's exit gave Canada an early 1-0 lead. In other Thomas Cup action, South Korea edged Chinese Taipei 3-2, Japan swept Britain 5-0, India defeated Australia 5-0, and Malaysia beat Finland 4-1. China and India have both booked their places in the knockout stage and will meet Wednesday to decide the group winner. Later in the Uber Cup, China's women's team endured a marathon against India, with the final match stretching past 1 a.m. on Tuesday. The team sealed a dominant 5-0 sweep in singles and doubles, marking their third consecutive group stage victory. Manchester United moved closer to Champions League qualification with a 2-1 win over Brentford. The Red Devils took an early lead at Old Trafford and doubled it before the break. With just 2 points needed from their final 4 matches, they are now on the brink of securing their return to Europe's elite competition. The top 5 are guaranteed a spot in next season's Champions League. And finally, Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain are gearing up for a thrilling Champions League showdown. The defending champions will host Bayern in the first leg of their semi-final on Tuesday, before travelling to Germany for the return leg in 8 days. Luis Enrique boasts a fully fit squad after their 3-0 win over Angers on Saturday. Bayern Munich, on the other hand, will be missing 4 players: Leonard Kyle, Tom Bischoff, Serge Gnabry and Rafael Guerreiro. Head coach Vincent Kompany will also sit out the clash after he was booked in Bayern's quarter-final win against Real Madrid for disputing the referee's decision.
Thank you very much. That's Yang Guang with sports. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, and coming up in culture and entertainment, China's box office pre-sales are heating up ahead of the long weekend.
From north to south, east to west, people in China are chasing their dreams and leaving their mark. Want to know how they beat the odds and made a difference? Footprints brings you the true life stories of their journeys.
At 53 past the hour. In culture and entertainment, the pre-sale box office revenue for China's Labor Day film lineup has already surpassed 25 million yuan, or roughly $3.6 million. The total annual box office has exceeded 12.8 billion yuan already. The market's preparing for nearly 20 new releases, including the highly anticipated Cold War 1994, a prequel to the Cold War franchise. The film centers on a high-profile kidnapping case in Hong Kong in 1994, while the heartfelt drama Being Towards Death explores a man's emotional journey after a failed suicide attempt, finding new purpose through his interactions with terminally ill patients. A biopic about music legend Michael Jackson has topped China's box office chart since its premiere on Friday. Titled Michael, the film stars Jafar Jackson as his legendary uncle. It chronicles Jackson's journey from his childhood in the Jackson 5 to his groundbreaking 1988 Bad Tour, showcasing his rise from child star to the king of pop. The Brazilian culture minister is set to visit China this week as preparations for the China-Brazil Year of Culture get underway. Ahead of her trip, Paulo Cabral spoke with the minister.
Over the last couple of decades, we've seen an enormous increase in relationship between Brazil and China. China became Brazil's main commercial partner. The BRICS were created, a very important forum. But what about in culture? Did culture follow suit all this development of the bilateral relationship?
I was with President Lula in China on his first visit, and we also had the visit of President Xi Jinping here. So there is a real process of building and strengthening these relations, and culture is strategic at this moment. So this trip to China is precisely to expand these possibilities for exchange and collaboration. This is the year of a greater opening, both in Brazil, where we will have events, performances, and Chinese films in Brazilian cities, and also in China. So, as I said, this visit is precisely so that we can expand this knowledge even further.
Brazil's diversity, cultural diversity, ethnic diversity is often considered one of the big potentials and cultural reaches of this country. How do you think this can play in Brazilian culture?
This is one of our main actions, to promote this cultural diversity that Brazil has, seeing it as a fundamental point of the identity of everything we do. Brazil surprises internationally because of its cultural diversity. And because of that, we can mention, for example, audiovisual. For the first time, we are managing to place Brazilian audiovisual in a broader window. And this agreement with China also expands the visibility of Brazilian culture in Asia. So there are several aspects where we work on the potential of Brazilian diversity as a soft power.
And that was the Brazilian Minister of Culture. The new season of the New Orient Express is launched in Xinjiang, with 52 travelers departing Urumqi for a luxury journey through Kashi, Korla, and Altai region. The train features starry sky-themed dining cars, cultural workshops, and onboard medical staff to care for its mostly elderly guests, redefining slow travel. The train hosts cultural lectures by experts on Xinjiang's history, folklore, and geography, as well as traditional music performances. Xinjiang Railway Authorities plan 100 tourist trains this year, including 35 premium New Orient Express journeys. The Chinese embassy in Washington, D.C. will open its doors to the public on Saturday as part of the Passport D.C. event. The open house-themed Discover Shanxi, where the Silk Road starts, wonders await, showcases Shanxi province, home to the silent majesty of the Terracotta Army. This year marks the 7th year the embassy's participated in the event. We're at 57 past the hour. Checking the forecast before we go for the day. Shanghai will see a light rainfall tonight and tomorrow. It's down to 11, a high of 14. Chongqing will see moderate rain becoming overcast tomorrow, a low of 16, a high of 22. Nanchang has heavy rain overnight. It's down to 13. That gives way to overcast conditions in 17. Lhasa has showers overnight, down to +3. A light rainfall in 15 tomorrow. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see some light rainfall through tomorrow, a low of 20 and a high of 33 for Wednesday. Vientiane will see a light rainfall in 24 overnight, becoming heavier that rainfall with a high of 36. Phnom Penh will see some rain tonight and tomorrow, a low of 26 and a high of 36. And that's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour. Making news today, Iran's foreign ministers blamed Washington for the slow progress in dealing with the tensions in the Middle East. And China's immigration authorities are bracing for a surge in tourism during the upcoming May Day holiday. On behalf of the staff, this is Shane Bigham in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
Find the Beijing Hour at precisely 6 p.m. Beijing time. We meet you on podcast and on air every weekday. The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
He can't live without the Yellow River in his eyes.
The Yellow River is so noble and elegant.
Both my grandpa and dad made a living from the river.
Would you like to move away from the Yellow River?
I don't think I will. I love it so much.
The Yellow River, the second longest river in China, is regarded as a shaping force in the history, economy and culture of northern China. Today, about 100 million people live within its water basin, making up nearly 9% of the country's population. How is climate change felt at its headwaters, and what are the locals doing to cope with it? What are the descendants of the boatmen doing? What has kept some people from leaving their home village by the river, and what has drawn others back? Could the fading fishing community revive in a time of digital transformation? From 2021 to 2024, our reporters visited the upper, middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River, talked to the herders, farmers, boatmen, fishermen and eco-activists who share a close bond with the river, and present their stories in pictures, podcasts and videos, all in our 12-part series, The Yellow River Mosaic, available only on CGTN Radio